tell us about that small word you use there, trust, because that fascinates me in so many ways, because lots of people talk about a manager needs the trust of a dressing room. How do you interpret trust, and how do you build it and develop it?
Well, I think trust is a two-way thing. I don't think it's the manager can purely trust his players, and I think that there has to be a two-way thing. I think ultimately, as the manager, I think you have to set that. You have to set your boundaries with the players. Yeah, you have to be very clear of what you expect. There can be no grey areas in terms of behaviour, in terms of expectations on the training ground. And I think once you set those boundaries, the players will either fall into it or they'll fall out of it. And if they fall out of it, then the trust is broken. If they fall into it, then I think you'll have a great relationship.
Yeah.
And how many chances do players get with you to get it right?
I think it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
In a sense of what they may have done wrong. I do believe in second chances. I do believe in helping and educating players and trying to guide them, because you got to look at them as your son. I try and treat them as my sons, really, rather than as players. What would I do if this was my son sat in front of me now? How would I treat him? Would I give him a second chance? Yes, I would. And I'd try and educate him and help him as to why he's done wrong or why I think he needs help in that area of his life. That's the view I try and take. Now, if a player is making a conscious decision to go against what you're trying to do, I think that's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And that's where a line might have to be drawn.
Have you had to deal with that?
In my career, thousands of times, a lot of times, because it's human nature. I think you're always going to get conflict in a team of 25 players when you can only pick 11. And then obviously then you have substitutes on that. There's going to be moments of conflict and confrontation.
I often wonder, when you look from the outside in, where you see football teams do like initiation ceremonies and somebody's got to stand up and sing a song and the rest of the squad throw bread rolls at them and things like that. And I often wonder like how useful they are, because I'm not sure what the effect of it is, but I can certainly see the effect of somebody standing up and sharing something deeply personal and being heard and recognised rather than like made fun of or something like that. Like, where do you stand on that kind of initiation ceremony versus what you're doing?
Yeah, I think depends what you're looking for. I think the initiation ceremonies have a place if you want to have a laugh and you want to get the lads together, laughing, joking at each other and not taking themselves too seriously. I can sort of see the merits in that, as long as you know what it is. But this one is, I think, a lot of respect. If you're willing to talk about something that's personal to you, then you have to give that person a lot of respect. And then you have to give them the vehicle to then express themselves with no judgments. And no, it's worked really well. But I wouldn't say I'm massively for the initiation ceremonies, unless it's that we've done it during pre-season to get a new group bonded together and try and create some laughter, because laughter is ultimately so powerful.
And I'd like to talk about, your personal experience then of being the Newcastle manager. We're here at the stadium, it's massive, the city, as you've already said, everywhere you are in the city, you see this stadium. How does that sit with any imposter syndrome that you have floating around? I don't know, the first day you walk out at St James's Park and everyone hears Eddie Howe, the saviour, going to keep us up.
Well, actually, the first day I didn't, because I got COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yes.
Couldn't believe it.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God.
So when did you realise when did you test positive and realise that you couldn't be here for the first game?
The day before, on a Friday, yeah. So any other time and, would have been fine. But just that day meant that obviously I had to miss out. So I was in the hotel hearing a delayed noise from the crowd where there was a goal. We drew 3-3, so there's a load of goals. And that was a tough experience. No, but I haven't really felt that imposter syndrome. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I felt very comfortable here. I felt welcomed by everybody, welcomed by the staff, welcomed by the supporters, welcomed by the players. And I've really, really enjoyed what is a very difficult job, high pressure job, but I've enjoyed that to this point, and I'm very thankful for everyone for that.
And in a job like this, I can imagine that the ability to delegate is even more demanding, or even more important than it would have been at Bournemouth, where maybe you had a grasp on more aspects. What have you learned about the art of delegation that listeners could take on?
Well, yeah, I'd say the art of delegation is massive, and I'd say historically for me that's been a big weakness. Definitely in my early days, it was well, just me and Jason, to be honest, Jason Tyndall, and we did everything. And sort of once you get accustomed to that, that's the normal way of working. So it's two people doing everything. You got to remember, we had nothing. You know, the resources we had at Bournemouth in our early days formed us, but we had nothing. So we were taking on all sorts of different things, scouting, you know, whatever there is, sports science, we were doing a lot. So, but that's been really good for us. But then the job changes, you get more staff and you end up at a much bigger resources, but you're still acting like there's just two of you. So that's been a weakness of mine because of that process, really. So it's something that I'm learning to do better as I get older again. I think it's something I need to do even more of. I need to give more trust and accountability to other people, but I've sort of become, very hands-on, and I'm reluctant to lose that hands-on approach. There's certain things that I can't hide from here. So media duties and all the other things you have to do, which means then your time's pulled. So you need to give.
What part of the job sits least comfortably with you?
I think anything that's not with my players is not viewed as a negative by me, but for me, the main attraction to the job is the grass, the balls, the coaching, the players, the improvement, the analysing, preparing, and then doing, that whole process I love. Anything around that is almost a bit of a distraction from that. So it's making sure those distractions don't take you away from what I believe is at the core of success, really.
And what is the part of your job that is misunderstood the most? The element of management that we just should know and you'd love to share with us?
Probably the effect that you can have. I think it can be underestimated, the effect you can have on the team, on the individual players. I think, and that's why I'm so passionate about trying to have interaction with my players on a daily basis. I don't like going through a day where I don't really feel I've spoke to them or impacted them, whether that be on the training pitch or off the training pitch. Because I think you have to be viewed as, the players probably wouldn't like this, but as a mentor or a father figure or whatever people want to bracket it. I think you've got to be important in their lives for them to play their best football. I don't like being a distant, unrelatable, not contactable, don't speak to him type figure. That's not how I would manage, or how I really think the job should be done. I think it's a collaboration rather than a dictatorial type process.
Yeah.
Everyone connected with the club can have an impact on the players, kit men. The people that are there having contact with the players, I think, can help shape a mindset and a mood and a feeling that can linger beyond the day. So I think we have to be very mindful of that when we're dealing with the players.
And how do you square away that at Bournemouth, you had earned a lot of credit in the bank at that football club, whereas here you're at one of the richest clubs in the world? I think we'd all agree the reality is 6 bad results and maybe less, and the question marks come, and maybe even the job goes. How do you not let that overwhelm you?